The tasting note that I like to steal from James, at least on the nose, it's got an old man's breath to it.
Welcome to the Sons of Vancouver Whiskey channel. My name's James.
I'm Max.
And I'm Jenna.
And today, we're going to taste 5 Canadian whiskeys that were featured in the Canadian Whisky Awards last weekend.
If you haven't heard yet,
We did very, very, very well.
we won an award.
Best Canadian whiskey 2023.
Canadian Whiskey of the Year.
Canadian Whiskey of the Year 2023.
You love me. You really love me.
The best.
And we're going to taste 4 of our other favorites from the awards.
Without further ado, I'd like to pour us all a drop of palm trees and a tropical breeze, a whiskey that we've talked about previously on this channel, although we didn't know how good it was ourselves at the time.
So this was our 3rd whiskey that we've ever released. It's a 100% rye. We uncasked a few barrels and we were hit with this huge banana nose. There's lots of like fruity tropical flavors in this whiskey, and so we thought it would go very well in a rum cask. We found some Virgin Islands rum casks. We let it rest for a few months in there, and what became of it was a very big, fruity, tropical whiskey that has, you know, lots of pineapple, lots of banana. You get the vanilla, the oak, just like a very bold cask strength whiskey. You wouldn't really expect a lot of these flavors out of rye, but we always talk about that rye has a lot of facets. It's not just spicy and, you know,
Grassy.
There's
Mineral.
You know, bubblegum flavors. You can get tropical flavors out of it. You can get graphite flavors out of it. And so we really like to explore the different facets of rye.
What I love to say about Canadian rye is that everyone knows barley is so diverse. In Scotland, there's 7 regions, all with their different style of whiskey. Canada just has one style of rye, and we're trying to push that a little bit, pull out some of our favorite features of the rye, and put them forward in every release that we do.
I'm quite taken with the tropical notes today, actually. Sometimes I smell it and I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's more oaky, but today it's like the pineapple is like right out there.
I think it's a little bit colder in here today.
Yeah, maybe.
When it's warmer, the oak comes out.
So this one isn't technically a cask strength rye. We did bring this one down in ABV a little bit. It came out of the cask at around 58%, 58.5%, and we were really struggling to find those rum notes in it. We were finding a lot more of the oak notes there, and what we found was when we added water and we brought the proof down a little bit, all of those tropical flavors then poked their head out, and we were sort of like, we were very happy with how it ended up there. So we brought it down to 53.5%. Makes it a little bit easier drinking too, I think. But yeah,
I actually really like to add a little bit of water to this, and those rum notes really come out. But who wants to buy a whiskey at 40%?
not me.
No, I don't think I will.
We are sorry to say that we did sell out of this in our first week of production. We are working on many more potential best whiskeys in Canada down the road.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people looking for bottles of it. We're very sorry that it's sold out. But if you're looking for if you're looking to get your hands on some of our whiskey, your best bet is to go to our website, sonsofvancouver.ca. It's going to be up here on the screen, maybe.
Shameless plug.
Maybe here.
Yeah.
Here.
Like and subscribe.
Go to sonsofvancouver.ca, sign up for our whiskey mailing list, and you'll get emails about when we have releases. We have very little bits of whiskey coming out right now. We are waiting for a lot of our whiskey to mature, and so we usually do 2 to 3 releases every year. And they're usually only 200 to 300 bottles, and they sell out right away. And now that we've won this award, it'll probably sell out even sooner. We hope.
Quicker than right away.
Yes.
Yes, even more immediate.
Instantly.
And it's gone.
Our next one is a James pick. So why don't you do a little talking about it, James?
The Harris Beach is one of my favorite whiskeys in the Canadian Whisky Awards this year. I like it. It's a little bit in the vein of American style rye, which is similar to whiskey that we put out, and also similar to the Reifel Rye that we're going to taste at the end here. This is one of my favorites because it's so aromatic. It's a style of rye that has I'm going to use the word florals, but like incredible aromas on the nose, and carries quite well in a glass. A lot of typical Canadian flavors are green notes, are spice, are minerality, like graphite, and I really like this one because it carries the notes of the grain with it. Pour myself a little more here, guys.
I will say that if you picture a flavor wheel and sections of a whiskey tasting flavor wheel, there's like spice, there's wood usually, there's like fruit, green vegetal,
oak,
and then there's always a floral side. And I will say that is one that you don't often see whiskeys falling into. It's probably the one that I go to the least in terms of things that I pick out. This is one that falls in that category.
No, it does.
It shows another side of rye, I think.
Yeah. It does have a tasting note that I like to steal from James, at least on the nose. It's got an old man's breath to it.
Sorry, what?
in a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
Like a mothball?
A mothball, yeah. There's a certain sort of age thing, and as I believe James said, that this has a significant blend of corn spirit, a Canadian corn whiskey blended in with it. It is 51% rye, as it says on the bottle. It's called Rye 51. The corn spirit certainly makes it a little bit of a more mellow and drawn out affair, but it's still got a nice rye spiciness and this sort of softer sweetness, easily interpreted as the breath of an elder.
Elder's breath.
Elder's breath.
That sounds like a flower name.
What I know about this is that it's 51% rye that was aged 4 years, and 49% corn whiskey aged 6 years. Everything was then finished in new Spanish oak barrels and then bottled.
Spanish oak. Interesting.
I get a little bit of wood, but it's not exactly your American oak. I get a little bit of like almost mesquite or like a barbecuing wood as well.
Like a hickory almost.
Hickory.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not hickory sticks.
No. That would be a good
That would be a great
tasting
tasting.
note.
We're going to make hickory stick whiskey next.
This one is a whiskey that I have been talking about pretty much since I tried it last year.
Has not stopped.
I know. I'm really their like number one fan club at this point.
Very enamored.
Devine Distillery, they, I believe, started out as a winemaker and then shifted into whiskey in a big way. And they've been winning a lot of awards. I will say that at BC Distilled last year, in 2022, it blew me away. This is actually a young whiskey, so I believe it's under 3 years.
Yes, it does not. Well, it does say whiskey spirits on the bottle. It does not
If
actually.
they're calling it whiskey,
itself.
it must be 3 years then.
No. This
No?
is not. This is 2 years. Yeah, it's
Okay.
2 years old.
It's called ancient grain.
It's not Canadian whiskey. You could call it whiskey,
right.
but it even doesn't call itself whiskey. It calls it a whiskey spirit.
Right. So it won in the young whiskey category, and they also took the Innovation Award at the Canadian Whisky Awards this year.
Very well deserved.
Yeah, I think for a young whiskey, this is one of the best that I've had, definitely in BC and probably in Canada as well.
There was a point in time where Jim Murray gave this whiskey 97 points.
Really?
Oh, really?
Really?
They have a few different expressions. This one's my favorite, the ancient grains. I think they use like 5 different kinds of grains that they actually farm themselves, some of them. They're on the island.
They are. Yeah. I know that they have
Vancouver.
they have a few properties that they own, but they pay farmers to harvest
Right.
the grain off of.
In terms of like non-ryes, I think there is rye in this.
Actually, no.
No?
Unless I don't even want to botch the pronunciation of these, but it is made from BC barley, spelt, emmer, Khorasan, and einkorn grains.
You did great.
Thank you. And it is, it's really nice. There is this small hint of that old man's breath again, but not nearly as pronounced.
In a good way.
Yeah.
A lot of like new oak on this one.
I get like fruitcake.
Yeah, really dark fruits in it. There's a very like bready quality to it. Like you really get the like bread flour sort of taste from it.
Reminds me of a Christmas cake or a bread pudding of some sort.
If you're in the BC area, this is definitely one to pick up.
Yeah, it is quite exceptional. It is far more complex than you'd expect from something, and has like a sweetness akin to brandy or cognac.
Yeah, that's true. It does remind me a lot of cognac.
Yeah.
So these guys have been destroying it in the whiskey scene. There's not often that I see an article or like a mention of Canadian whiskey and they're not mentioned. I am ashamed to say that I tried it for the first time at the Victoria Whiskey Festival this month.
So myself as well.
I'm sorry. I just like...
We're both novices.
I never
to this
had an
product.
opportunity to try it. We didn't have it here, and I always wondered about it, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is probably like... this is not release 33 because 33 was sold out and we couldn't get our hands on it. This is release 23, but release 33 I tried at the festival, and if you have a chance to try it or buy it, it's probably my favorite whiskey of 2023. I'm gonna say it's only January. Okay, release 23. This one is a lightly peated traditional malt with portions finished in both sherry and port barrels. Complex balance of subtle fruit, oak, and smoke.
This is not the exact release that was in the Canadian Whisky Awards.
They won like 7 medals at this one or something like
They
that.
basically win every time.
Yeah.
So
I would say they swept a lot, or like cleaned up at least. They won Whiskey Producer of the Year, so one of the big ones, and then I think they won 7 gold medals. So amazing accomplishment for sure.
This stuff is, without even tasting it, you can already smell.
It's so
it
nice.
is exceptional. There's a fruity sweetness, there's smoke, but it is a very light smoke. It leans into a graphite sort of flavor like these guys were mentioning.
Yeah, those wine casks come through like right away.
Yeah, it is, smells fantastic.
Yeah, it's like a really nice like heather smoke, like quite light.
I think this is a little smokier than their release that was in this year's Whiskey Awards, but not much. And again, the smoke is very, very light and not like a traditional Scottish peat.
That's a nice like light smoke. This is a beautiful whiskey.
what I love about Two Brewers is the whiskey itself is almost a spare no expense whiskey. When you see a single malt that has a specialty malt in it, it'll have like 5%, whatever, like Munich malt or caramel malt or something like that. But Two Brewers, because they're a brewery, you'll get so much more of that in their whiskey, and it's just like, it's a punch in the face in the best possible way. It's overwhelmingly flavorful. Flavor is the word of the day, actually.
Yeah, there's so much flavor in this, and it's a 46% whiskey.
Yeah.
I would have pegged it higher. Yeah, I can't say enough about their stuff. Like, I was blown away by them. They had a booth set up at the grand tasting at the Victoria Whiskey Festival, and I tried as many as I could and had a nice convo with them. They were the nicest people, too. I believe it's a dad and 2 of his kids that are running it now, so that's really nice.
I went to the Two Brewers Brewery and Distillery in 2015. And at that time, they had been aging whiskey for 7 years and had never done a release.
That speaks to like just waiting until the whiskey's ready. Like I feel like a lot of the trouble that distilleries run into is they're just so anxious to get whiskey out that as soon as it's 3 years old, they're putting it out. And you know, that's not to say that you can't do that. I mean, Palm Trees is a 3-year whiskey. It's not to say that it's going to be a bad whiskey if you do that, but it's all about just waiting until it's ready. It's all about just like letting the whiskey tell you whether it's good to go or not. And if it's not, then having the patience to just put it back in the barrel and wait, which is like the hardest part. You just want to get it out there, you know? Mm-hmm. Last but not least, this one's one that we've talked about a lot this year amongst ourselves. One that James told me that we had to try, and I bought a bottle and I was really impressed with it. Just to show you that we're not biased and we also like commercial whiskeys as well. Reifel Rye, made by, is it Suntory?
Oh yeah, Alberta Distillers, owned by Beam Suntory.
Beam Suntory. This guy is, I would say, probably one of the best commercial ryes that I've had this year.
Yeah, this is really like, it's taking that vein of, how do I say this? It's taking that vein of like very aromatic American ryes. This is a rye with an incredible fruity note on it that I think is really often like undersung.
Oh, so fruity.
We have been told by some folks that have insider information that it's the same mash bill as Dark Horse, previously from Alberta Distillers. I have no confirmation of this, but it is a 90% rye. I think it's 10% malt or like 5 and 5 or something like that.
I heard it was 10% bourbon.
It's quite a mystery.
Well, if we were talking about black cherry flavored whiskeys, this one takes the
yeah.
cake. There's a ton of cherry and red fruit on this.
If you guys know what the mash bill is, leave it in the comments below.
Yeah, I would say that like cherry cough syrup is like the first thing that comes to me.
And yet,
In a good way.
In a good way. And it is surprisingly and very pleasantly light in flavor. It's very big on the nose. And then it's a very easy drinking whiskey. What's the proof on that, might I ask? 42?
Yeah.
Percent. Awesome. Yeah, really cool. It is very smooth drinking.
I think this is like a $35, $37 bottle. If you're looking
No,
for...
it's a $45 bottle.
Still worth it.
I bought it from the Galt and I think it was 37. Might have dropped in price.
The Gull Liquor Store
I think they
people,
gave
go
you-
there now.
Maybe they gave
believe
me...
you.
Don't quote me on that. It's a low-priced bottle. So if you're looking for something that you maybe want to mix or you want to throw in an old-fashioned, it's still great to sip too, but like this is a like go-to bottle. Like if you're looking for something to have on your bar cart all the time, I would vote for this guy.
If you spend a lot of time at the distillery, you might hear us talking down on 40% whiskeys. This one is 42, and there's a tremendous amount of flavor in there.
Yeah.
I really love this whiskey. It's one of my favorite ones to come out this year.
I do think that this whiskey at 45% would be tremendous. Like,
Oh my God.
But it might not appeal as much to the mass consumer. I don't know.
And to
I'm not the
me-
blender, so I can't say that.
To me, more than the flavor, this is about the aroma.
Yeah, the nose is
aroma
great.
it carries it for me because I find this to be a very clean spirit, and I don't mean to detract from it anyway. The nose is exceptional, the quality of spirit is excellent, but for me, all of the depth is what you put your nose in the glass.
I really think that that Reifel Rye and the Harris Beach are moving in that way of new rye, and especially like new Canadian rye. This is so readily available. I couldn't be happier with it.
Yeah, I think the trend that we saw at the Whiskey Awards this year and at the Victoria Whiskey Festival is that big, flavorful whiskeys are trending forward, that people want to see cask strength, they want things to sort of blow them away, and I think these are great examples of whiskeys you can pick up on the Canadian market that are really steering the Canadian industry in the right direction. Yeah, we're flattered to have won. Obviously, we're like amongst, great whiskey makers, and so
Standing on the shoulders of giants.
yes, we would like to say thank you to everyone who has supported us and who's bought our whiskey. It means a lot to win an award like this. We obviously don't do it for the awards, but to get that kind of approval and proof that we're going in the right direction, I think means a lot to us. And we're excited for things on the horizon to put more whiskey in your hands.
Absolutely. And if you're watching this, there'll be a new whiskey on the shelf very shortly.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Like and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much, and see you soon.
Sign up for the mailing list on our website.
Vancouver.ca.
That's a 30-second whiskey tasting.